Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It is the player ratings then Everton out of the Carabao Cup after a defeat on penalties to Fulham 7-6. It ended up in the end after the game finished 1-1 in itself. Disappointing performance, disappointing results. Whole night was disappointing, really. It wasn't just the penalty shootout. I know there's a lot of blame being pointed at, Amadou Onana and Garner Gay for missing their penalties respectively. But I thought Everton were off it from the first minute tonight, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think it was a great performance. I don't think anything particularly worked for us. I thought we worked hard. I thought we battled. I thought we, put ourselves about and made a decent account of ourselves. But I don't think we were particularly great in the final product. I thought every player could have, given a little bit more, barring maybe Jared Brandwaite, who I thought done really well. Obviously playing out of his usual position at left back. Everybody else I thought worked hard, but probably could have given a little bit more in terms of quality wise, not in terms of effort. In terms of quality, I thought everybody was a little bit below par, including the manager. I don't think the manager's tactics worked. I think, he tried to go with that over-the-top sort of long ball looped high pass, if you like, and it never worked. It never worked from the first minute to the last minute, and why we persisted with it for the entire game, I'll never know. But yeah, somehow we still ended up drawing the game in 90 minutes, and had it have been a Premier League game, we would have come away with a point in it. So, it is what it is. Sometimes this happens. A lot of injuries currently in the side at the moment. We haven't got a fit left back. We've got two of our right backs out injured. We've obviously got a midfielder out injured as well. Not only a midfielder, but arguably our most important player and our best player of the season, our top goal scorer, out injured. So, to take all of that into consideration, and to think it was a pretty dull game of football, which it was. I thought both sides were pretty dull. I don't think Fulham were particularly great either. Their goal come from a spawny deflected cross that, had it have not deflected, would have been a comfortable save for Jordan Pickford. And our goal obviously come towards the end of the game as well. So yeah, we can point blame at players, and we can talk about the penalties, and we can talk about how he should have done better. Listen, for me, it's very simple. It's a shocking penalty by Amadou Onana. It's a really, really shocking penalty by Amadou Onana. I'm not sure what he's thinking. I'm not sure whether it was through a lack of confidence. I'm not sure whether it was through a level of arrogance. I've watched it back a couple of times on Twitter, and it almost looks like he's too nonchalant. He's thinking too much about what he's going to do when he scores, and how he's going to celebrate, and what's going to be the after effects of that, what he's going to put on social media after it, rather than actually focusing on how he's going to score the penalty. And it's a really, really bad penalty. But does that mean he should never play for Everton again? Does that mean he should be moved out of the team, and he should be exiled from the squad? No, it doesn't. He's a young kid who's made a mistake. And listen, you might be thinking, hang on, Cam, this is a different you. Usually you'd be jumping around, screaming and shouting. I usually would be, but as I said, I've had a complete 360 on this team and these players and this manager over the course of the last few weeks or so, as I'm sure a lot of us have. And it would be silly of me now, after one subpar performance where we didn't even lose in the 90 minutes. After one subpar performance, it would be silly of me now to go all the way back on that and say, oh, they're all terrible, they're this, they're that, the other. The important thing is now is that Amadou Onana understands that if it's come from a place of arrogance, it may not have done. Amadou Onana might have just been really, really nervous stepping up. And, he ultimately might have thought, I don't really know what to do here, so I'm going to walk up to it slowly and hope the goalkeeper dives the wrong way. Who knows? But if it has come from an arrogant sort of, I'm going to look brilliant doing this, then he needs to take a look at himself. And ultimately, he's got a point to prove now on Saturday. And I think the most important thing is that we don't get too on his back. We don't jump on him too much. The important thing is he turns up on Saturday against Tottenham and he puts in the best performance he's ever put in an Everton shirt, because it will become a problem when he starts to allow that arrogance to consume him, and he starts to walk around on the pitch and not really give everything and not really care and go against the fans because a few of them had a go at him. Ultimately, you were gonna get criticism if you step up to take the final winning penalty in a game and you do that. It is what it is. If he'd have scored, we'd have all been bouncing. He didn't. He takes the criticism, and now he's got to go out there on Saturday and prove that. He's probably got to give an extra 5 or 10% more than everybody else in order to prove himself a little bit to the fans. But look, it is what it is. I'm not hugely heartbreaking, broken, I'll be honest. It is disappointing and it is frustrating because, it's another cup competition that Everton are out of, and it's another year where, we're limited to just the one competition now in the FA Cup to go and win, and if we don't win, then it's another year of not winning the trophy. But ultimately, I think I'm mature enough now to be able to look at it and go, do you know what? Whatever, move on. If we'd have absolutely wiped the floor with Fulham for 90 minutes and they'd have somehow taken a draw and then we'd have lost on penalties, I'd have been a little bit frustrated. But I don't think Everton were very good tonight, to be honest with you. And I think had we have won that on penalties, I don't think it would be a case of we've got away with one, but I think it'd certainly be a case of we weren't in our best there and we still won. But we never. It is what it is. We move on. Player ratings then. If you've never seen this show before, it's a very simple concept. It is the show where we give every player a rating between 1 and 10, 1 being absolutely terrible and 10 being absolutely brilliant. We go through the entire squad and we rate them individually. So let's start with Jordan Pickford in goal then. I feel like up until the penalty shootout, it wasn't as great as the games in an Everton shirt. He never had an awful lot to do in front of goal. In regards to shot stopping, I've not seen Fulham's goal back, the own goal, so I can't really comment on whether or not he should be doing better with it, but from what I've heard, it's quite a nasty deflection, and that would suggest that he couldn't really do much about it. I thought his distribution was poor today. I thought the distribution was really poor. Now, I don't know whether that was because of the wind. I don't know whether that was because of the circumstances in which the game was being played in. What I thought was a little bit strange as to how we persisted with those long over-the-top balls, despite the fact that they never worked at any point during the game. But I did think Jordan's distribution was poor today. I thought it could have been better. I thought it was wasteful. I thought it broke up the play at times when we really needed it to continue. As I said, not much to do in regards to shot stopping. Penalty-wise, he obviously saved the penalty, which is all you can ask him to do, and he got close to saving a couple of others. And as I said in the instant match reaction, that is the difference. For me, if you are stepping up to take a penalty in a penalty shootout in that circumstance in a cup competition, I don't care who you are, whether you're Lionel Messi, whether you're Amadou Onana, or whether you're Michael Keane, there's absolutely no room for cockiness or arrogance or I'm going to try and do this, I'm going to try and do that, because ultimately, yes, if it comes off, it looks dead cool and you look dead good for a minute, but you only look dead good while everyone's celebrating and dead happy, and then a few days later, it's forgotten and we're looking forward. If it goes wrong, then you open yourself up to a huge, huge amount of criticism that may be more difficult to come back from. And I just don't understand why Amadou didn't just step up and rifle it into the back of the net, because that's what every Fulham player did. Fulham's penalties weren't great penalties, but every one of them, they made sure that if Jordan Pickford went the right way, he wasn't getting on the end of it, and he did. He went the right way for 2 or 3 times, got a hand on 2 or 3 of them, but because they were strong penalties, they wasn't able to save them. I'm gonna give him a 6 today. Okay, you could probably say he deserves a little bit more for the penalty save, but ultimately I thought his distribution was a little bit poor today. So yeah, I'll give him a 6. Right back then, Nathan Patterson. I'm gonna give him a 6 as well. I'll give Jordan a 6.5 for saving the penalty. I'm gonna give Nathan a 6. I thought he was okay. I think Nathan is still very, very, very raw, and maybe Nathan Patterson isn't the finished article that we all hoped he would be at this point, or we all thought he would be. I think in the absence of Seamus Coleman and Ashley Young, we've seen that Nathan is definitely a talented fullback with a huge future, and definitely somebody that needs to play more for Everton Football Club than he was doing previously. But he is by no means the finished article. Neither is Ashley Young, by the way. He makes mistakes and he has moments in games. But, Nathan, I think, had a couple of moments today where it was too easy to get in behind them. It was too easy for them to create opportunities to get down that left-hand side. But he also had moments where he done really, really well. He won the ball back really, really well. He held players off really well. He beat them for pace on the corner. So I'm actually going to give him a 7. I thought he done okay. I don't think he was perfect by any sense of the imagination, and he's still a young lad with an awful lot to learn, and somebody that is definitely not the finished article at the moment. But having said that, he done all right. He didn't make any mistakes. He wasn't at fault for much. The goal did come from his side, I think. But you know, again, if you can directly blame him, that may be being a little bit harsh. But yeah, he can get a 7 for his work rate and his desire. Onto the back line then, Michael Keane. As I said, I've not seen the I've not seen the penalty back. I'm gonna give Nathan Patterson a 6. Actually, I think that's fair. I've not seen the own goal back. Sorry. So I don't know whether it's genuinely one that is unavoidable or whether he throws a foot out at it. I don't know. I'm gonna give him a 6.8. I thought he was okay today. You know, as I said, the own goal aside, which is probably a little bit harsh to put any blame on him for anyway. Thought defensively he was all right, put himself about. Again, couple of moments where you're sort of thinking, oh, what's he doing there? He had a couple of moments in the first half where I think he got lucky. I think the ball ricocheted off him a couple of times and he was able to beat his man because of that ricochet, whereas had it not have ricocheted, which obviously was a huge slice of luck, I think he would have been in a lot of trouble. So, yeah, I give him a 6.8. I thought he worked hard. His penalty was absolutely fantastic as well, rifled into the top corner, which is exactly what you like to see, exactly what Amadou Onana should have done, just rifled his foot through it. But yeah, he was all right. Tarkowski then, I'm going to give Keane a 6. And I'm going to give Tarkowski a 6.5. Yeah, similarly, again, not too much to separate the two today in terms of their performances. I thought both were relatively solid. I thought James had a few less moments that made me sort of think, oh my God, my heart is in my arse, whereas Michael Keane had a couple of those moments. Not many, but a couple of those moments. James didn't have them. As I said, stepped up, took his penalty really well as well. You know, again, I think I said that against after the game against Burnley at the weekend in the play ratings of that game. James Tarkowski is a player that, whether Everton win, lose or draw, and whether Everton play well or don't play well or average, James Tarkowski always puts a 6-7 out of 10 in every single week. I'm going to give him a 6.5 today because, again, he was solid. He wasn't anything unbelievable. He wasn't great, but he also didn't have a huge amount to do either, so he didn't have to be unbelievable or great. He put a shift in. He worked hard. He was solid. Jared Branthwaite then. I'm going to give Jared an 8.5. I thought he was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. This kid just gets better and better, doesn't he? I mean, he was playing not only, in an unnatural position for him, but in a completely different position for him as well. It's not like you're talking about a centre midfielder playing in the number 10 role, or you're talking about, a winger playing as a wing back. This is a centre half playing as a left back. It's a very, very, very different position. It's a very difficult position to adapt to. I thought he was absolutely sound. He even got forward a couple of times. Yes, nothing come of it, but he still got forward. He still had the intention of being in the box and creating an opportunity and making something happen. And yeah, just generally, I thought he worked really, really hard. I thought he was cool on the ball. He used his strength a couple of times, which is really impressive. His passing was okay. He saved James Tarkowski on a couple of occasions and Michael Keane. So yeah, again, Jared is absolutely unbelievable at the moment, and ultimately, even playing out of position at left back, he still put in a really, really good performance. So yeah, he's getting an 8.5. Into the midfield then, Garnagay obviously missed the ultimate penalty that meant we lost the game. Yeah, look, I am very much of the opinion that a professional footballer earning hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, who is supposed to be at the top level of their game, I'm of the opinion that every single one of those should be able to hit and get a penalty on target. Now, I'm not sure whether Garner's was. I know it was saved, but I'm not sure whether it was saved onto the post or whether it just hit the post. I thought in the game he was okay. I thought in the first half he was much better than he was in the second half. The first half he was breaking things up. He was moving the ball around well. He was working hard. He was, he had a real partnership with Amadou Onana going on, and they were working really, really well together. Second half, I thought he was a lot quieter. I thought he was a lot less involved. I thought he was a lot less. He just didn't seem to run around as much. He didn't seem to get about as much. I just don't think he was as involved in the second half. Maybe tiredness, maybe fatigue. Who knows? I'm gonna give him a. Oh, give him a 6. Should I take a mark off him for the penalty? Maybe, but you're getting a 6. Oh, none of them. Yeah, I'm going to give Amadou a 4. And it is because of the penalty. Because ultimately, he's got to do better. I thought his overall performance was okay. He had moments where he looked strong, moments where he looked like he was dominating, but again, he had moments where he wasn't in the game and he was out of possession, and he had moments where he was standing around watching, almost not knowing where he needed to be or what he needed to do. Look, as I said, I'm not of the opinion that he should never play for Everton again, and he should be, completely taken away from the team and sold in January, but ultimately, that is a shocking penalty. That's a shocking penalty. If you take a good penalty and the goalkeeper saves it, then it's a completely different equation and it's a completely different conversation. To step up and take it the way that he did, in the manner that he did, is, again, for me, it just screams arrogance. I just thought he seemed a little bit arrogant. I just thought he seemed a little bit cocky, a little bit too focused on how good it was going to feel, as opposed to just, right, I'm going to get my head down and I'm going to make sure I score this. And hopefully it's a lesson. It should be a lesson. And that's the most important thing, is that it is a lesson and that he learns from it. And that not only does he not do it again, because very rarely at Everton in penalty shootouts, and very rarely would he be taking a penalty in a regular game. Very rarely do we get penalties in regular games. But hopefully he learns his lesson that, sometimes the ego and the arrogance and the spotlight needs to be put to one side, and he just needs to focus on doing his job for the team. And like I said, for me, Amadou owes us on Saturday, and I fully expect to see his best performance in an Everton shirt against Spurs. And if I don't, then I'll be bitterly disappointed. Forward line then, Dwight McNeil. I'm going to give him a 6.5. Thought he worked hard. Thought he put himself about. His penalty was a good penalty. Nice finish. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, not great. As I said in the instant match reaction, I felt everybody, with the exception of Jared Brandthwaite, could have done more tonight. Not in terms of their effort or their work rate, but I thought their quality and their final ball and their distribution in terms of what they did when they had the ball at their feet, I thought everybody was bang average, including the forward line. Dwight McNeil, I'm going to give him a 6.5. He worked hard, he ran round, but just not good enough. Jack Addison, I'm going to give him a 6 on the other side. More frustrating for me, because I think Jack's got so much to offer quality-wise, and we just very rarely seem to see it. I know people are huge fans of Jack Addison and love him and think he's great, and I like him. I think he works hard. I think he puts himself about. I think he's a threat. I think he's dangerous. But I'd be lying if I was to say I think I've ever seen him have an unbelievable game for Everton. I've seen him have decent games for Everton, but I always seem to be left with this feeling of he's got more to offer there, but we're just not seeing it. And yeah, frustrating performance. But he ran round, he worked hard. James Garner then. Jack Addison's getting a 6. James Garner, he can get a 6.5 as well. Worked hard, pulled himself about. No, actually, he's going to get a 6 because I don't think he was as involved as he usually is. Still ran round and worked hard and put himself about, but I just don't think he was involved as what he usually is. Yeah, maybe it's tiredness, maybe it's fatigue, who knows, but yeah. And then Dom, going to give Dom a 5. Just don't think he was in the game whatsoever. Again, put himself about and worked hard, but just never really in the game whatsoever. Onto the bench then, Danjuma, 6. Scored his penalty. looked lively, looked better than he's ever looked coming off the bench for Everton, put it that way. And hopefully he gets more opportunities from that because, yeah, he didn't light the place up, but he looked like he wanted to have a go. And then Beto, I'm going to give Beto a 7.5. Ultimately, he was brought on to try and change the game and get us back in it, and he did exactly that, and then he stepped up and took his penalty. So, in my opinion, there's not much more you could ask from him. Pat, you are talking nonsense, mate. Fulham being extremely comfortable in that game is one of the maddest things I've ever heard because, let's be honest, Fulham sat back for pretty much 90 minutes and didn't offer anything. Don't get me wrong, Everton didn't offer much either, but neither did they. So, Pat, football probably isn't for you. Anyway, there you go. Let's move on and let's worry about Tottenham at the weekend. It is what it is. Sometimes this happens. As I said, I'd be more frustrated if Everton were fantastic today and then lost on penalties, or if we were absolutely terrible and lost in the 90. I thought we were pretty average. I thought they were pretty average. I thought the game ended fairly as a draw, and then we lost on penalties because of a mad moment from one player. It happens. Put it to one side, move forward, and go and impress on the weekend. Go and get a positive result against Spurs, and I'm sure we'll be able to move on from this one fairly quickly. But there you go. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe as well. That would mean a huge amount to me. Go and check out the Instant Match Reaction if you haven't already. We will be back with the live game review tomorrow, so don't forget to look out for that one. But until then, massive thank you all for watching. Really do appreciate it, and we'll see you after.